What was that? What? What's that sound? Where? It's aliens and they're living in your town. Damn. They have arrived. What? They're all around. So many aliens living in your town.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Weird and Whatever. How is everyone doing?
Yeah.
Good to be back.
Yes.
You have a good vacation?
Everything's good, man. Got my broker's license in Cali. Went through the SpaceX military base. Took the train up from Southern California up to San Fran.
I think I saw a picture of you on the train.
It's pretty creepy, actually. My Wi-Fi signal's knocked out. Cell phone signal, obviously for obvious reasons, is a big military base, and I guess SpaceX leases one of the platforms. So it's pretty wild. So I started Googling. There's a couple SpaceX UFO sightings that maybe we can talk about during the podcast.
Very nice. Mr. Beckett coming back from his, was it LA trip? Is that what that was? California?
Yeah, and then I did Napa.
Napa. That seems about right. That's a very Ryan Beckett place to go.
God, that one guy that trolled us on the first hate mail, he's just going to come back at me for this one.
Napa. Vicky, how the heck are you doing?
Good. Not as exciting as Mr. Beckett over there, but I did go to the car dealership twice this week and bought 2 cars. So
Oh,
Wow,
well,
geez.
I guess
Very
congratulations. Is that?
one's mine, one was my mom. So yeah,
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's
very,
awesome.
very nice. So are you and your mom close?
yeah. I'm basically her caregiver. We live in the same house, and actually her prognosis is not all that great. But the fact that she let me go and pick out a car, and she signed a 6-year loan, that makes me feel like her mindset is that she's not going anywhere.
I got to stop asking personal questions because every time I do that, there's like,
No, that's okay.
So, Vicky, are you married? No, I'm divorced. So, the last time I asked something, it was, I hope your mom feels better.
Thank you. Well, I'm hoping she doesn't like to leave a debt, so I figure I'll trade her car in 4 years, and that'll give me another 6 years with her, and I'll just keep stretching it out.
And you got a nice alien T-shirt on.
Yes, I do.
Oh, what's it say?
It's Let's Get Weird.
I love it.
I like
Is
it.
that custom made?
No, Amazon.
No way. Let's get weird with an alien.
Yep.
They're taking our shit.
You got a cool shirt on, too.
Mellow, yeah, mellow yellow. Walmart, $6. A little
like
bit
it.
different than what Beckett is used to.
He's got the homies.
Homies.
Oh, nice.
It's a pun.
So
Yeah.
let's. Oh, and Denny's, how are you?
Good, man. Good. How's it going over there?
Great. So I wanted to delve into something that's been troubling me. I talked somewhat on it on the KVJ show. I am having terrible night terrors right now. And I've always suffered from night terrors, but they're at a next different level. And I wanted to just kind of talk to you guys about some of that stuff. And I know we have talked about it a little bit. Do you guys remember your dreams
Yes, I do.
vividly?
Pretty much.
Do you dream all the time?
Yes, I do. Every night.
I dream every single night. And every night terror that I have, it feels like someone's ripping me out of my dream, like you would see in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Really?
Yeah, and
It's always bad dreams?
yeah, man, they usually are bad, which makes me wonder, am I not remembering the good stuff and I'm only knowing the bad?
You don't have fun dreams, naughty dreams?
I do have naughty dreams every now and then, but it
Okay.
seems like...
But they still end up getting murdered?
yeah, no, a lot of times it will, or I'll be hooking up with a girl, and I'm like, oh, this is great, and then she, will go, oh, I've got a disease. I'm like,
Oh my God, it's so dark.
It is. I'm having this kind of night terrors, but I wanted to delve into that a little bit. There's some things I'm sure I'm doing that may be creating them, but I did want to see what your guys' thoughts were and all that kind of stuff, because it's starting to actually affect my life a little bit.
Right. Could I ask, are there other symptoms when you're in your night terrors? Are you paralyzed? Are you like unresponsive, like if you were having a seizure?
It's a reoccurring dream.
It's just a
And it's
reoccurring.
almost like, I've talked about it before, I'll be walking up towards this apartment complex, and when I'm walking up to it, I'm like, oh man, it's bad, it's not good, and it follows that way, always, but right now, it's just at another level. So someone suggested like dream catcher stuff. Do you have any history on that?
I mean, it's a matter if you believe that the dream catcher is going to stop them. I think more than likely there's some kind of unresolved issue that you need to get to the bottom of, and that's what's causing these dreams.
Denny's has a very interesting theory. He thinks I need to stay in the dream till the very end and confront whatever the hell is bothering me. But my issue is once I have the night terror, I'm like yanked out of that dream. I can't stay in it.
Yeah. See, I have reoccurring dreams, and I've had them since I was little, but I always finish them. I dream that I go to a location and there's something demonic there. and I start to say the Lord's Prayer, and I start to say it louder and louder, and whatever's there like tries to make me sick so I can't talk. But I keep doing it, and then at the very end, I'm practically screaming, and I say, good always overcomes evil, and then whatever it is disappears. So I don't have any, like, long-lasting effects from the dream because I finish it, and good truly overcomes evil in the dream. So I think that's a great suggestion. If there's any way that you can keep yourself within that dream and finish it,
Well, that's the $1 million question.
yeah,
Well,
if you can.
I would suggest he should get some nicotine patches because they cause lucid dreaming. I say throw a couple of those on him. He'll definitely stay in the dream the whole time.
Okay.
But see, I already have that kind of dreaming. I don't think nicotine. See, we have to figure out a
Nicotine
way
makes
to
it
stick.
lucid, so you're in it. You know you're in it. So that way you're not going to snap out of it. You say you're being dragged out of it. That's the only reason I recommend the nicotine patches because you're so in the dream that you can't be ripped out of it.
Becky, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, possibly getting addicted to nicotine patches is the right way to address this problem.
Well, I think, in my opinion, the way I understand dreams, it's something that's in your somewhat conscious, subconscious that you're bringing and carrying with you into your dream. So if you have a worry about a test, like then a lot of times I've dreamt I've showed up naked for school and
For
like,
sure.
freaked out.
Ow!
Yeah, or like I failed a test, or like you have whatever anxiety or fear or girl that that remember that girl the story that you had this dream and she ended up being in the thing that's kind of interesting. So maybe I think there's some subconscious like that maybe you pick up and you bring into your dream. So I try to think that there's not necessarily psychic things in the dream. I just think that it's bringing things in your subconscious and it's good to reflect on those. And I think the more that you can explore the dream, where that's staying in it, I think that's better. But I don't know if I can get there in terms of like psychic premonitions.
And what about a nicotine addiction? As far as that, Denny,
It's
Vicky,
a pretty solid addiction.
Vicky
We'll let
does.
that
Yeah,
stand.
no, I think there's other ways we can get to it,
You
including.
give bitch ass drugs that'll like.
I don't want. I don't want
herbal
bitch-ass drugs.
remedies.
I don't want any drugs.
You know how I'm always about the mental thing? I think that each night when you go to sleep, you need to make the conscious effort to say, I'm asking you, please, I want to finish this dream. I want to see it to the end so I can get the message from it. And I think eventually you're going to.
Because the weird thing is, what I've noticed that's kind of coinciding with everything is I am having deja vu at an alarming rate when I'm obviously not sleeping. And so the night terrors and the deja vu together, I'm just wondering what the hell's going on.
Well, some people might say maybe it's a past life thing coming back, a memory.
Do you guys remember your worst nightmare? Do you have one that sticks to you? Like, oh my gosh. Really?
I don't have a specific one, but I have a reoccurring theme in that I'm really a slow runner in dreams. You know what I mean? Like
You're just channeling me.
I've never been the fastest guy on any of my sports teams, but I'm a pretty decent runner. But for some reason, it's like
That's a terrible nightmare.
everyone could run faster than I can. But
That's
I'm-
a common theme though
It
across
is.
dreams.
It
I have a
is.
hard time running in dreams when I have them. I have like 2 dreams a year maybe, if that, and I barely ever remember them.
Yeah, Denny's he's not really a dreamer.
Yeah, I've had like 2 nightmares ever. Like I just don't sweat them, man.
So you're a pretty good sleeper
They're all
then.
fictional. Yeah,
Well-
I could sleep through anything.
Well, see, that's it. They say that the better you sleep, the less likely you are to remember your dreams.
So-
That's
for
interesting.
sure.
I thought maybe it was going to be the opposite.
No.
The
Really?
reason why, and I wouldn't sweat it normally, but as I've gotten older, not getting sleep and waking
Starts
up
affecting
constantly.
you.
I mean, I punched Virginia on accident one time. She was driving me home, and I had passed out, and I was having a night terror. And again, someone was ripping me out of that thing. I was like, "Ah!" And I smacked her right, like not meaning to, of
Right.
course. And, yeah, I never heard the end of that. She never brings that up.
But I think it would be interesting, actually, to film you one night when you go set up the
All
cameras.
right, Vicky. All right. Let's get into this.
I could probably sell that tape too.
He sleeps in the buff.
Oh yeah.
Well, we'll edit that out.
I'm definitely a naked sleeper.
But if you film, because you might be saying things in your sleep
Yes.
that might be clues to what's going on. I really think you probably should do that.
I'd be nervous to have someone videotape what I say in my sleep.
Yeah, I know. Who knows what crazy shit I'm
Oh yeah.
No, I do want to do. I'd done a sleep study back in the day,
Okay.
and that's how they found out that I had. Can't think of the term.
Sleep apnea.
Thank you, sleep apnea. I had big ass tonsils, and they had to take them out. And they said, "Dude, in the history of Jupiter Hospital, we've never seen somebody off the charts like that." So yeah, I would like to do another sleep study. I just don't know if they do it for just night terrors.
Yeah, they did for my son. My son suffered,
Okay.
my oldest son suffered from night terrors. But what was strange about him, they happened once a year at the approximately same time of year for 3 years in a row, and then they completely stopped.
That's weird.
Yeah, and he could never remember what he was dreaming about, but he would go into a state where it was almost like he was having a seizure. So we would like grab him and each time run to the emergency room, even though we did the whole thing and they did the study on him and hooked him all up to all the machines and stuff. I still, every single time it happened for those 3 years, I ran. And then after the 3 years, it just stopped.
Is a night terror different than a nightmare? Or it's the same thing?
To me, night terror seems like it's more chronic. I don't know. Am I off on that?
Right. And night terrors, you usually like have a lack of, you usually can't wake from them the same way. Like you could probably communicate with Jason when he's having his night terror, and he could maybe communicate with you, but have no conscious knowledge. Whereas with a nightmare, that's a little bit different. You can usually snap out of those easier, and there's not a physical thing a lot of times with certain nightmares.
See, I knew Vicky would have some awesome shit to talk about. I tried to bring this up on the show. Denny's talking about getting me hooked on nicotine.
Well, I just think you should confront it, man, because if you're lucid, you realize you're in the dream, and you're like, this isn't real. And then you can look your fear in the face.
Yeah, it's a lot of times it's a serial killer, like a Jeffrey Dahmer or Ted Bundy. They're always watching me, and they're on my ass. They're trying to get me, and then the cops get involved, but then the cops turn on me. And then the sky turns into Armageddon, and I'm just constantly running and running.
It's interesting.
But I wake up like this. That's how I wake up.
Right.
And if I'm dating somebody, I always have to tell them, look, please don't be offended if during the night, I have to go sleep on the couch, because trust me, it's better for you if you do that.
Maybe just pull Leonardo DiCaprio and put a dreidel by your bed and just spin it.
Is that
wake up and see if it's
Inception.
still spinning.
I've never seen Inception.
Really? That's a solid
I
fix.
know. Everyone's on my ass about that.
That one's pretty solid. I have a theory of that one.
Well, bring
Just
it
don't
on.
do any
I don't
wacky
want-
tobacco before you do Inception, because
right.
you'll be mind blown. You'll have to bring your own dreidel to the movie.
What's your
Well,
theory?
I don't want to say the theory. If you haven't seen it, it's going to ruin it. It's a halfway point where I think something big goes down.
Okay. No spoilers.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it for the good people.
Deja vu, we've talked a little bit about this. We haven't really delved into it. Some people really, really experience it. I feel like I experience it a lot. Beckett, ever have any sort of deja vu
Yes.
recently?
Not in the immediate recent history, but definitely had deja vu where it freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah, it's an odd feeling. If you've never experienced it,
Yeah.
it's not where, you've gone to a sub shop. You're like, oh, I've been to this sub shop before. It's almost more internal. Like
Yeah.
you feel it.
Like you've seen everything before.
Yes.
Like it's all moving the
But I've
same.
had different kinds of
Yeah.
deja vu. I've had deja vu where I feel like it's relatively benign and like not that big of a deal, like kind of funny. But I've had other deja vu where I don't remember exactly, because usually deja vu for me is like fuzzy. Like I don't remember the exact chain of events that happened in that deja vu, but there's a lot of things that just feel really familiar, and like someone said that before in that context before. But then I have this feeling like the deja vu is bad, and like something coming is bad.
I feel like we've had this conversation before. We might have.
It's like
Deja
my
vu.
favorite Yogi Berra quote is he's like, it's like deja vu all over again.
Yeah, Yogi.
Yogi.
So what do you think deja vu is? What do you think that stems from?
Well,
Like,
the
why would
Matrix, they said it was a glitch in the Matrix.
Well, a lot of people are Matrixers on that one. I'm not even kidding.
I've heard reincarnation. I've heard that it is a message. I heard that it's something you have experienced before and that you forgot about.
Denny's believes in parallel universe, and I think that, I don't know how I feel about parallel universe. I'm probably less of a believer than Denny's is on that one, but that would make sense if you have a parallel universe.
it's a crossover.
Yeah, it's a crossover.
What do you think, Vicky?
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Some people think it's that you actually had a premonition, and at the time you didn't realize it was a premonition until you have
Saw
it
it
again and you're
again.
living it, and then it's something like that. What I found strange, I used to have deja vu, but once I figured out I had ability, I stopped having it.
So do you think deja vu could be connected to psychic abilities?
I think it could.
That's
could.
interesting.
I've been having a lot of it lately. It's very bizarre. And like I say, it's more of
Maybe I'm the
Like a
closet
feeling.
psychic.
I think we all have some type of intuition. Like you've talked about this before, Vicky. It's just a matter of being open. I think if you were open about a certain subject, you're going to probably experience more within that subject.
So let me ask you, these dreams you're having and the deja vus, because of the psychic thing, Are you excited about it or nervous about it?
Because it could be a curse or a blessing.
I'm at a point now. I used to think it was fun about my night terrors because I could talk about them on the air.
Now you're like, I want to sleep.
I want to sleep, man. And some of the, like I said, the last.
Because you're up early.
Yeah, I wake up. If I wake up at 4 a.m., I've slept in, so that's not good.
Yeah.
But the last 12 to 4, that's the last couple of weeks, they've been different. They've been more intense. They've been kicked up more. And like I said, the deja vu has. And we don't have to harp on this too long.
Now, how long with the night terrors? You said the first part of it is that you're walking up to an apartment building.
Some type of, apartment
How
building.
long have you had this particular night terror?
I would say since I was about 17.
Do you recognize the building from like childhood?
Not really, no. I don't.
It's a complete. Do you recommend or recognize it from like a documentary that you watched about a serial killer?
No, I don't. It's weird. It's almost like the feeling of deja vu in my dream.
Right.
Deja vu in the dream.
Is
Denny.
it similar to a scene from a movie you may have seen?
These are all great questions. You ask me right now.
Well, I just want to know the significance of
Yeah.
a building. Is it because empty buildings, abandoned buildings scare you?
I've always had a fear about big old buildings because I had a major, almost like a nervous breakdown in front of a building when I was 11.
And you have a fear of the apocalypse, like with the traditional apocalypse too. So, and that's in your dream as well.
But I think you guys are right. I think all these dreams, it's not like I'm dreaming because I'm worried about the apocalypse.
No.
There's an apocalypse going on in my life. If that makes sense.
Well, I've said it before on air, but my theory as far as how dreams and nightmares work is that that's your body training you for something that you're afraid of so that when you actually get in that situation, you've already seen it once before.
That's a great theory, I think. I mean, it's interesting.
That's what nightmares are. Like I'll have a nightmare that I'm in a room full of spiders, and that's in case that happens. I've already seen it. I've already felt the sensations and the terror of it. Maybe I can handle it a little bit better because you only get good at things as you do it. Like you rob a bank once, you're not that great at it. About the 4th or 5th time, you're starting to get it down pretty good.
Yeah, and that's like with my demonic ones. I had someone in the field tell me I was supposed to be a demonologist because of these dreams that I've had since I was little.
Now, demonologist, for the people listening, what would be the textbook definition of that?
Your specialty in the field would be demonic haunts, those violent demonic haunts.
Out of everybody you deal with, and by the way, Vicky, I get so many people emailing, Vicky is the best. You're the John Lennon of the Weird and Whatever, man.
I get a ton of emails too saying, Beckett, man, you guys on point.
Nice.
Yeah, I get emails from everybody. I just know that Vicky's in the field doing the work. She's not jet setting on the West Coast.
Ooh.
I was doing due diligence.
You're right.
He went on a field trip while he was out there.
That is cool. You went on a field trip.
I am just messing around, but so you do Denny's really quick on the deja vu. Yes or no? Believe? Yes? No?
Yes or no? Believe in deja vu?
Yeah.
It has to be real. So many people have said it. I experience it very, very, very
You have,
seldomly.
though?
Yes, once or twice. Very seldom.
Got ya.
But I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's because I've pictured something like that before. I'm not sure. It's a really perplexing. In fact, we don't even have a word for it.
On the skeptic end, I can totally see and understand. Dude, you're dreaming about shit you saw on TV. You saw that building somewhere. Blah blah blah. And they might be right on that. I don't know. The one thing I talked about on the KVJ show that, my gosh, I could not believe how many people got pissed off. That's why I like this podcast right here, because we can talk about this shit and not so many people are going to get mad. I brought up chemtrails. You guys know what chemtrails are?
Yeah.
All right, Denny, why don't you explain what chemtrails are? Because I think you are the reason why people got mad.
Oh, dude, so much hate from that.
I shut that down pretty quickly, too.
Really?
Okay, so this is going to be an interesting debate right now. Denny's versus Beckett. Go.
Well, so a lot of people allege that chemtrails are just the residual moisture built in the left inside the engine as the plane's taking off. But they've had them forever. But wouldn't you theorize that somebody could put a chemical in there and just spray it across? You don't think it's very benign? It's an easy thing. Basically, they think they're putting chemicals in there to either keep population at a controlled level, to essentially make people sterile so they can't produce as quickly. Because ultimately, the end of the world is if we can't produce food fast enough to support us.
And it's, when you look at a plane, some planes,
You see those streaks coming out of
the streaks go away really quick. And there's other planes that are hanging around.
a little thicker.
A little thicker. They're hanging around the air a lot longer. I don't have an opinion either way. I don't know, but I just brought that up, and holy shit.
Yeah, and I'm not even a humongous supporter of chemtrails. I don't disregard that could happen. I've done a lot of research about it. Because, I mean, if you think they were dropping smoke over Vietnam and stuff, I mean, why couldn't they just apply that same technology over here in a much milder manner and slowly slow the population growth?
All right, Beckett, you got the counter.
So there was motives behind Vietnam. That was Chemical Orange, and they wanted to thin out the forest because that's where all Charlie was.
For sure.
The Vietnamese were hiding. So there was purpose. There was purpose behind
Call him
that.
Charlie.
Is that not PC?
It's fine. It's from Apocalypse Now. And
All right, go on.
I thought that was the code name of the war.
it was.
Okay. So anyway, so they were, but there was no motive. I don't understand like a motive. Plus, it's private airplanes that are throwing out this moisture tracks. Plus, I have friends that are fly for the Air Force and commercially that explained it. They're like, dude, it comes out. It's normal.
Okay,
Like,
and just me trying to steer the controversy here. Why would there be some trails that are without a doubt left in the air a lot longer, a lot thicker compared to some that are not?
So I don't understand the science or the meteorology behind it, but there's clouds in certain parts of the sky where there are not clouds in the part of the sky. There's rain in certain parts of the sky, especially in South Florida.
For sure, there's thinner and thicker
Oh,
areas.
yeah. There's different moisture. Like, you go different. It's cold in different places when you hit different altitudes. You know, you have different, the engines are warming up. Like, there's all, and again, I'm not the scientist, but.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've read up on it. You at least have an opinion on it.
Yeah. So then it hits different points of moisture points, like, different things. Like you've seen air shows. Air shows, for whatever reason, depending on where they go, they can throw out like the smoke, when they do different things. And I don't know if that's how they do it on purpose or whatever, but
What would be the point, Denny's, for them wanting to sterilize people?
That's my whole thing.
Seriously, what would be other than...
Well, think about it. The quality of life is so much longer now, and every year it gets even longer. People are living forever. So they think about all those people living, plus we're bringing new people in with medical advancements. We can born more children as well. Eventually, there's a point where we can no longer reproduce food fast enough to compensate all the people on the planet. We already have an issue over in other countries where they don't have enough food. So, I mean, obviously, I think it would be in there. I mean, I'm purely just saying from what I've read. And I could see the angle of what the government would do to keep the population down a little bit.
So you have somewhat of a suspicion that the government...
So funny enough, I never really think about chemtrails. I've read about them a lot. But at the same time, I could see them doing that, and it would not surprise me whatsoever. I totally think that would be something they would do.
I could see it happening in a communist government, and I think sometimes we give our government too much credit because we cycle private citizens in and out of government, and that's just one of the big things I poke hole in conspiracy theories is there's way too many people to be involved. Like I say, like in the context of a relationship, if someone cheats, you may not find right away, but I think eventually the truth comes out.
There's always a rat.
Something happens, something comes out, and I just think with that big, do I think that politicians get greased and they have special interest and they're not always up in the up on how they lean and how they vote? 100%. Do I think there's scandals that happen and certain things that are in self-interest and special interest group? 100%. But I think a chemtrail.
But why not that one? Why wouldn't they try to keep the population lower?
Well, if they were going to do that, wouldn't it be easier to put it in the water supply than it would be to...
Well, there is arguments. They get mad about the fluoride.
I agree with Vicky. I think that if they were to do that, the chemtrails are way too visceral. Like, you can see it. It's dumb. You know what I mean? It's like a dumb way to do it.
You being the spiritual educator, Vicky, what are your thoughts on all this? Do you think the government with the chemtrails are trying to poison the community?
No, honestly, and I got enough other things to worry about than to worry about, planes overhead,
It's getting real heated in here,
They could
Danny.
be dropping an agent that pacifies.
If the whole world went
pacifying the
vegan, we
people.
could feed the whole world like 50 million times with all the stuff, the crops and stuff that we feed the animals anyways. Not to mention global warming from deforesting, but I'll get hate.
Oh, we're going to get It's so funny. Chemtrails, you can't talk. I mean, anytime we bring up vegan stuff, and I'm not so much talking about this podcast, but oh my gosh, I bring up vegan stuff on the air, on the regular air.
Yeah.
Man, people, it's almost like they don't hear the whole conversation.
Oh, yeah.
They just hear the word vegan,
and they attack.
or animal or meat. And I'm not on either. I'm right down the middle here. I like to hear people's opinions, but it's so funny. even bringing up the chemtrails.
Yeah.
I even preface the thing, I don't know. This is just a theory. I had read something. What do you guys think?
Right.
You guys are so stupid.
Yeah.
You guys are talking about sorcery on the air. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I just think people should be well read, and if this is something happening, you should know about it. Like I said, I'm not a big supporter. I don't think they're doing it. But
Fluoride in the water. You bring that one up a lot.
fluoride only comes up because people say it calcifies the mind's eye. So I mean, that's a pacifying, make you feel less sensitized towards big issues. If they can keep people chill and a little bit less concerned about what's going on, they have a better way of controlling you.
Yep.
Fluoride's a big one. I don't want to get into it.
Get it? No, this is the place to get into it.
Fluoride, I think that.
Originally, it was devised because people's teeth were so bad
Right.
they needed something, and some places naturally have fluoride in their water deposit.
But you're saying that the fluoride in
The
the
added
water
fluoride.
pacifies people without them realizing they're being pacified.
Absolutely.
Meaning they're walking around numb, dumb, like zombies and not really...
Well, just that much fluoride is causing. They've noticed that people care less. They're a lot more apathetic now than they were before. And a lot of people blame internet, which internet didn't help.
Vicky, is he going off the rails on this one again?
No, I mean I can understand what he's saying. I'm just like now I'm like calculating should I buy bottled water or have they infiltrated that with
you don't
fluoride
know.
too?
You never know. Nobody will tell you
know?
what they're really doing.
I mean, we are. You can see us as a race. We are desensitized to things.
Completely.
So is it just because of the media, which we've talked about before? Is it because of fluoride? Is it because, what other
Combination?
reason?
Well, think about
Yeah.
everything on this earth you take. There's almost a reaction to. I mean, a lot of it's digestible, some of it's not digestible, some of it's poisonous, some of it causes psychedelic effects. There's all these different things, basically derived from plants and animals that we eat and we feel effects from. So fluoride, why couldn't you argue that over time could cause a negative result mentally?
Beckett, you're a big water drinker?
You can tell he's got great skin.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely.
I enjoy some water every now and
When's
then.
the last time you had a soda?
It's been a while.
Oh, man.
You know,
you're just like Kevin.
My little thing is every time I go to a movie, I have a child's popcorn and a big Diet Coke. That's my thing.
Yeah, we go about snacks in different manners for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. What's your thoughts on the
So
fluoride in the water?
fluoride, I agree with them. I think that there's always these unintended side effects for things, and people but I do think that the intended reason
good is so we don't have to brush our teeth.
what
as
was
much.
for fluoride, better teeth and stuff like that. But I think when they did that, down the road, just like people didn't understand cigarettes, they were giving out to our troops. They didn't understand the side effects
sure.
of nicotine, and things go out longer. So the jury's probably still out on fluoride. I don't know if they're still doing it.
There's counties that have taken it out, and there's actually big arguments whether people want them taken out of the cities because they're like dental hygiene is so high now, it's higher than it's ever been.
Right.
That we don't no
Let me
longer
brush with
need.
it.
Yeah, nobody needs fluoride anymore. So
in
there's
school, they used to make me gargle with it.
and you got to spit it out though.
Okay, so the ruling on chemtrails, we've got no from Beckett, no
No.
from Vicky, double yes on Denny's.
I just
I'm on
don't
the
think you
fence.
could excuse it. It could happen.
Here's the thing.
You even said, politicians, you don't
Yeah.
feel like they're on the up and up. What the heck? Population control, they don't care.
I'm
if
not saying that
a
it's-
number disappears in the masses.
I'm not saying that's real, but I don't think anything would surprise me anymore. I wouldn't
But
be that.
what a weird feeling that you can go around and say, it wouldn't surprise me though. And we're talking about figures that are controlling our futures.
I hope it's not like that. And this is a theory that's been around for years and decades. This is not a new.
No, this is since the 60s.
Yes. The one thing someone emailed me about, they kind of wanted you, Vicky, to give almost like a top 5 how you know your house would be haunted. Someone's trying to decide. They don't want to reach out to you because they know you're busy, and I think they're too busy too. But they say things are going on in their house, and they're trying to decipher: is this just normal shit going on, or is there paranormal activity? What would be 5 things?
5 things to look for. If you have issues with electronics, if you have light bulbs that blow out faster than they should, if you have doors opening and closing, if you're pretty sure that you closed it and they're not, hung incorrectly.
Toilets flushing out of the blue?
I'd call a plumber first, but yeah, that
So
could
why
be.
would
that's
that-
actually on our questionnaire. We actually have a question about plumbing issues on our point questionnaire.
Why would that be different? Like, if a toilet's flushing compared to a light that's breaking, I mean, why would that be any kind of...
Well, because a light, I mean, you have to look and see light bulbs have a certain lifespan. So if you're going through them faster, something seems to be draining the energy. It would take more energy for something to flush your toilet.
That's a great answer. I love that. That's awesome. Yeah.
A lot of times, like say, if you're all of a sudden start dreaming things that you didn't dream before, you're over there checking off on your list.
I didn't write the email into the show, I swear.
Hot spots in your house, cold spots.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm not trying to make it all about my ghost, but my gosh, I am hitting hot spot after hot spot in my townhouse. It'll be freezing, and then all of a sudden, hot spot, then freezing. I mean, it's very
the
bizarre.
best place to stand when it's freezing?
Where?
The corner. Because it's 90 degrees.
Look at these coming with jokes.
I'm gonna use that one. That's Becky here.
Okay. I love it. What else?
Objects being moved, like you place something someplace and you go back and it's someplace different. Feeling of being watched. That's a big one.
What about hearing voices? Obviously,
oh yeah,
that would be
that's a big one.
Big one.
Obviously, you have to rule out if you live in an apartment complex or someplace that's adjoined with another residence. You have to, because sound travels really strange sometimes, so you have to make sure that it's not something from the outside.
Let's go a step further. What are some symptoms of saying that your place is not only haunted, but you've got a demon?
Well, you're going to have all the same things you have in a regular traditional haunt. But what you're going to find is that the residents in the house, they're going to start having trouble sleeping because your first step is infiltration. And that's when you're going to have your regular things, your regular haunt type activity. Then you're going to go to oppression. And the purpose of the demonic is to drain the energy from the person they want to possess. And one of the ways to do that is to prevent them from sleeping. The next step is once they have that person to that point, they can go ahead and go on with the possession. And a demonic's ultimate goal is a death. Someone needs to die.
What's your best possession voice?
I don't know if I have one.
We did the weird voice last time. I think we got to do possession voice. Denny's, what's your best possession voice?
I will possess you.
It's pretty good.
Okay.
Not bad. Beck, what do you got?
I don't know if I have one.
You guys never practice possession voices?
Oh my gosh, I do this all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what if a demon's wearing you down right now,
Oh.
not letting you sleep, so you get weak and he can take over your mind?
You're talking to me personally?
Talking to the bird.
Well, that would really suck, man. That's why I'm bringing this up because I know, people will email me. Well, Bird, you're bringing it on yourself. You bring furniture in your place where dead people live, and I get all that. And,
Yeah, you like to poke the bear.
I do. And I think it's kind of biting me in my ass.
But you realize that, like with the demonic, there's usually multiple things going on. A lot of times you'll have someone in the household who has some kind of mental issue. You usually have human spirits that are there because the demonic likes to use the energy from those human spirits. So it doesn't have to find its own source. It just takes from them instead.
If you had like a demon, ghost, or whatever you want to call it, that's trying to mess stuff up, is it possible to also have a good ghost there fighting them, knocking them down, trying to
Absolutely.
block them?
I have one particular case where the person feels that there's two that are trying to do harm, but there's another person who's trying to counteract all of that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we had in my last one. The little girl was at my last apartment. Little girl was nice and innocent, and I think there was a not good energy soul or something there.
On a bright note, though, you got to realize that the case of coming across a demonic, and this was told to me by somebody in the industry, it's like winning the lottery twice in 1 year. So a true demonic is a very rare occurrence.
But like
Got
the
it.
Hunger Games lottery.
Yeah.
So do you find the malevolent spirits easier to detect than like a peaceful spirit?
Not for me. I don't sense evil.
So do you have ghost friends that are they're the ones that you send the evil stuff to?
No, that's Bobby Joe.
Bobby Joe's
Joe's
the evil.
Joe.
She's the one that detects the darker ones. If I walk into a location and I have something, I can detect really nasty human spirits. But if there's a demonic there, I'm going to think there's absolutely nothing there. That is not my job here. That's not what I'm supposed to be here for.
So
I'm protected from them.
Do the demonic spirits, are you telling me they come from hell? Where do they come from? If there's a mean human spirit, it's all nasty.
Right.
I mean, if you're just a regular person that's living their life, how are you going to know the difference between a nasty, mean ghost versus a demonic ghost or a demonic spirit?
Well, they're totally different. I mean, one, it was living. A demonic was never alive. It was never in human form.
And you think those are without a doubt real?
I think that they exist. I think that it is rare. It's not as common as human hauntings, but I think they do exist.
Interesting stuff.
Those are the scary ones right there.
Got an email. Do you guys know about the whole Bloody Mary thing? Nobody believes me, but when I was 14, my friend and I did the whole Bloody Mary thing in my bathroom mirror. The very next day, my friend tried to kill her sister. She claimed that Bloody Mary told her to do it. Do you guys think that this was just a chemical imbalance she was going through, or did my friend have Bloody Mary have her do what she did? It was my idea, and I have harbored so much guilt from it. I am now 24 and struggle. What are your guys' thoughts?
I like to drink.
The drink is
It's
good.
a good
No,
hangover cure.
I hate Bloody
It's a
Mary.
good hangover cure.
Ugh, bloody gross.
That's just from a movie, though, isn't it? It's just a movie.
Well,
Or is there
it's,
something
the
that-
old
it's
story.
folklore.
Actually, the real historic Bloody Mary was Henry VIII's oldest daughter, Mary the
Yeah,
First.
that's right.
This is
And
Vicky's
during
territory.
during her reign, she killed more Protestants than anyone else had done because she wanted to bring Catholicism back to England because her father had gotten rid of it. And because her nickname was actually Bloody Mary because of all the people she killed during her reign.
Imagine dating her. I mean, seriously, if you were romantically involved with somebody that at any given moment, they're going to cut
Oh,
you.
it should be
They're
so
gonna
high
cut you.
maintenance.
So high. That is the definition of high
Because
maintenance.
if you mess up, you get killed.
Okay,
I thought I dated high maintenance.
so is there... What's your thoughts on the Bloody Mary thing?
I think it's the same thing. We've talked about this before. I think anytime that people they do something to purposely call forth something, it's going to be your lower vibrational spirits, which are your lower demonics, that may try to interact and do something. Do I believe it's the spirit of someone named Mary? No, I don't. I think it's something evil trying to mess with you.
There
And
was
you're
a
like
lot-
opening it up for them.
Exactly.
There was a lot more to the email. I mean, this girl feels terrible about what happened, and she's harboring a lot of the guilt here. Does she? Is that a well-earned thing for her to feel? I mean, I don't think she should feel guilty about that.
No,
she's
people,
14. You guys are messing around.
No, people do things like that. That's what we do.
How do you let go of something that you want to let go of, something that's holding you back? You really want in your heart, but for whatever reason, you can't let go. I mean, for example, letting go of someone that you were in a relationship with, or letting go of someone that died. You want to let go. You know you are stuck in a place you shouldn't be, but you can't let go. Everyone always just says, just let go. Yeah, that's easy to say.
Yeah.
How specifically do you let go of something?
Yeah, I think there's multiple ways. I mean, one, you have to face it. Some people try to bury it.
How do you face it?
You don't medicate yourself, unless you're like, in threat of your life or something like that. You're suicidal. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. Like, you got to handle that. But I think for the most part, you got to feel sad. You got to mourn, whether it's a death or a breakup, because I think there's some similar feelings. So the point is, you have to face it.
And that's what you mean when you say face it. You're talking about the mourning, feeling it.
Feeling
Yeah,
it.
you got to
Raw.
feel the pain.
Raw.
Well, I think, especially in the United States, like my friends from other countries, we have a pill for everything. We have a pill when you feel tired. We have a pill when you feel sad.
When your penis is sad, you got a pill for that.
Exactly. There's medication for everything. So you need to not be numb to it. You need to feel it, and then you need to be cognizant that there's going to take time. And then I think that there's certain unhealthy things that you need to try to do your best, whatever fuses are put in place. Like, for example, I had a big tough time with social media during a breakup. Like, you want to look at their account, see who they're dating, see how happy they are.
Then you had a couple drinks. You accidentally like a photo from 8 months ago, and then you're like, "Oh shit!
Right.
I don't know. I was stalking her page."
Yeah. Like, you don't want to see their Snapchats. Like, you don't want to do that. So, I think the other person, if they're mature, will understand. Like, listen, like, I'm not gonna. If I unfollow you, I'm not gonna block you. But if I unfollow you, it's just 'cause I don't want to see your stuff coming across my face every day, and that doesn't mean I can't. My friends make fun of me not make fun of me. They think it's funny that I'm friends with most of all my exes because I didn't have bad breakups, but there was that buffer period, whether it was 3 months or 12 months, where you got to have that
Out of
distancing.
sight, out of mind does actually help. I mean, maybe not
huge.
for death and all that, but for a breakup, I know for me, sometimes I can't even, like
It's
you
tough.
say, I can't go on
Yeah.
social media and look at what they're doing because then I'll fall down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And that's a shitty place to be.
Oh, I've
in.
done it.
Oh, I think we've all done it. Have you? I don't know, Denny's. You don't seem like the kind of guy, once you break up, you go back and look at social media and.
No, I didn't even jump on really social media until I started working with you guys. Was when I made a lot of my accounts.
He wanted to be off the grid.
I was off the grid. I get hit up by like all sorts of like, dude, these guys call me and they say I'm like, dude, I don't.
Lots of dick pics.
I get the dick pics because my number's out on the air. I
Yeah.
get so many dick pics.
But yeah, I mean, I go through the typical, you know. I look at it very and this is purely my own method.
And we're talking about letting go of something. You're having
Letting
a
go
tough
of
time with letting
something.
go.
Time is the most important one out of all of them. I think separating yourself from it helps as well. Although at a point you should be able to look at them and not be jealous if they're having a better time than you.
I agree. I would say for a relationship, not a death, you break up with somebody. Let's say you've been with them for 2 years. What's the normal time you should be allowed to
Grieving
feel
period?
bad, grieve, be sad, your friends make you feel better, and then there's that deadline where you're like, all right, you need to get your shit together. You're kind of annoying now.
I think the annoying answer is it depends. Depends what happened on the
Pretty
breakup.
annoying, Ryan.
I know. It's so true though. Like, was it an amicable thing, or was it someone cheated on someone? Was the person yo-yoing you, which I think is the cruelest you can do next to cheating?
What's that?
Well, you agreed. You
on
said
again, off again.
You agree that cheating's probably like the worst thing because if
It's just the ultimate betrayal when you love somebody or in a relationship.
Yes.
You got
I just
trust.
I wouldn't screw over a friend like that. So why would you screw over the person that you're
I
sleeping
totally
with?
agree with that. So when you're intimate with someone, whether it's context of a serious relationship where you're dropping the L-bomb or you're just being intimate and that's the agreement you have with each other, that's what I said. I'm like, if we were that close to be that close and intimate with each other, then I don't see why we can at least be somewhat friends like after that. I understand.
I'm with you. I actually am friends with not all, but a lot of my exes.
I'm not saying like you go happy hour with them every week, but there's someone if you need to pick up the phone and like have some, need something. But to answer your question, I would say that if you got cheated on and then they yo-yoed you, meaning that's the worst thing because I always feel like I'm relatively consistent with in the context of a serious relationship. Like I'm either in or I'm out or I'm trying to work on it. But like if someone's like, oh, like and I hate when people react to the game where if like I pull back, the girl's into it. And if I
These games, I'm
the
not good- yeah.
games
The
are bad.
games gotta suck.
So the yo-yo and the cheating, I think, makes it hard because then I think you get a little bit more aware of the social media. You need a little bit more time. You need to set your own boundaries for yourself. It's like being in an online class. You need to like be disciplined on it.
I'm interested to hear your philosophy on letting go on something, and that you just can't. You want
Right.
to.
Right. Well, I mean, at some point, you pretty much have to if you want to have any quality of life yourself.
Okay, and that's great.
You
How do
know?
you do it?
That's really have a cop out. It's really like an individual person what
case
you
by
have
case.
to do.
Sure, and I
You know?
completely agree with that. But there's still got to be a universal, almost kind of like.
I think you just
method.
can't lie to yourself, man. Oh, so many people just tell
right.
themselves whatever they want to hear.
You're right,
and they'll
man.
move on with
People
it.
lie to themselves all
And
the time.
unfortunately, most people, in order to get over somebody else, they have to have somebody else.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know if that's the healthiest way.
It's
I agree
not,
with
but
you.
they do
it's
it.
not.
I think
It's
that
the easiest.
I think that what I've experienced with my friends and myself is two things need to happen. You need to be cognizant that you need to be at a point where you don't have hate, but you have indifference. That's the best place to get. And to know where your end goal is the best way to help you get there, right? Because hate is love's cousin. So if you're mad at that, like if I ever started to talk to a girl and get involved and she hates her ex, some guy's like, oh, she hates her ex. I'm okay with that. I'm like, well, she still has feelings.
Yeah.
She wouldn't
Even
hate
if
him if she didn't have
Exactly.
feelings.
If she's indifferent, she's like, I could care less, then that's okay. Like now she's moved on. So when I'm in a breakup, I'm like, when I get to a point where I don't care anymore, that's where I know when I get. And the other thing is success. They say success is the best. So I sometimes take hurt and pain and say like, hey, I'm going to make myself better. And sometimes someone can say it's unhealthy, but you're like,
I think it's a good thing to take the pain and harness it.
spin it into motivation to
Yeah.
make yourself better.
Not everyone can do that, though. And I'm not even just talking about breakups here. I'm talking about maybe you've lost a loved one,
Right.
and you can't get past that. I was talking to somebody the other day. One of their family members died 12 years ago, and you'll never get over a loved one die. You'll never get over it. But I do think you can be in that low area, that depression, that blue, the deep blues. I don't think that loved one would want you to stay down there.
They don't.
And they don't. And I think you have to just change up the way you're doing everything. If you're stuck like that.
And it's all how you handle it. Like, there's all these stories where the father left the family when the kid was 5 years old, and some kids take that as that's the reason why I never succeeded. And then other people, these motivational
They do
speakers,
the opposite.
they say, listen, that's what made me the person that I am
For sure.
today. So and you go through a tough time, and that's what made them. So it depends on how you take that breakup or that bad thing, and that's why I think that you can actually spin that energy into good energy.
Absolutely.
And breakups, a lot of it has to do with maturity. My ex, I still talk to him every day. When
Were you married?
Yes.
Okay.
And when he was around here, he doesn't live around here anymore. We were broke up, but we took family vacations. We took our kids on vacation together as a family unit, even though we were broke up. And that just took maturity.
I'm going to ask you a personal question. You don't have to answer it. Now, when you guys were done and you guys are still seeing each other, were you guys ever intimate, or was it done and that was it?
When it was done, it was done.
Because I know a lot of people that break up with, no, we're broken up. We got our own lives, but they're still sleeping with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
separate.
it's like Hollywood sober. Oh man, I'm sober. You smoke weed and you're on Xanax. You're not sober.
Yeah.
That's Hollywood sober.
That mixes it up. No one has that compartmentalization strength, in a relationship. As much as people think they do. If you're ever, I'm not saying that people can't hook up, no strings attached. I think someone always eventually gets more attached than the other person.
For sure.
Like the movie. But
I think you have to communicate, though. I think if you communicate, no, you're right.
even then, I
You're
think
right.
it's tough. But
But
I
I
think
think-
especially if you had a relationship, to your point, I think that even makes it more difficult.
It does. Like, it's love. Yeah. Such a crazy game, Denny.
Don't you think wouldn't you guys agree? I was talking with a friend the other day. Some people just brush it off because they've been hurt or they don't want to be hurt.
Listen to Billy Joel's Innocent Man. 4 minutes. He tells the truth, man. He'll let you know about exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and does he, at the end, is the goal to search love or just be a savage?
He's with a girl who he's, and they're together throughout the song, but she's closed off because she's been hurt so many times. And everything from her old relationship, she's bringing it into her new relationship, and he's paying the price for crimes of other guys. And he's just like, look, I'm an innocent man. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to do that. But I think a lot of people, I've done it. I've brought in old baggage in a relationship. I'm not proud of it because I don't think you should do that. But it's like saying, oh, I got bit by a tiger. I'm not going to be very cautious when I walk by a tiger cage.
My friend told me something that I thought wasn't the case. I disagreed with her at first, but then I thought about it and how I am and how some of my friends are. And I start to kind of come around to it. She goes, a lot of people end up being a product of their first serious relationship.
For sure. I mean, that's your learning experience.
Your first serious relationship sends you on a trajectory of your life.
Melissa? Ugh, no.
She might be listening to this podcast.
She's definitely not listening. And if she is listening, we don't want you. I'm just kidding. It'll get back to her. Great. Let me read another email. Ever since my son died, I'm sorry, it says dear, weird, and whatever. Ever since my son died, I have been finding random white feathers in his room. I'm not bringing anything with feathers in my house, nor do I own anything with feathers. Do you know if someone... Sorry, there's a little typo. Do you know if somehow this could be related to my son's death? I'm talking about the feathers. I tried to look it up on the internet, but there's so much misinformation about it, I don't know what to believe. Has anybody ever heard of this? I would love to know if anyone's experienced random things magically appearing after the death of a loved one.
And death of a loved one, a lot of times they'll leave coins sitting around, but I have heard of feathers, usually white feathers.
Okay. Interesting.
Interesting. Does she have down pillows in her room?
She says she's got nothing like that. She's got nothing like that. And I found feathers in my place too. And I don't have anything with feathers. How the hell would that happen if you don't?
Bird.
Bird. Yeah, you're right. When I saw that, I was like, holy shit, I've heard of this before.
Yeah.
He's a superhero at night.
You being in that spiritual world, Vicky, you've heard of this.
I've absolutely heard.
What
Like
does
I
that
said,
mean?
it's traditionally it's white feathers. It's just a sign, just like we talked about the red cardinal, things like that. At least this one is a little more concrete in my view, because if you are in a house and you have no feathers and feathers are appearing, you pretty much have to put that down as paranormal.
So is that manifesting? Are they manifesting that?
You know, some people say that, like, even when we have objects that disappear from our house, they disappear and then they reappear. Where do they go in the interim? And
Parallel
so,
universe.
exactly, there you go. And in that universe, if we want to say that, there's feathers and they can drop them down. I think the coins, they use coins because that's readily available for them to be able, because
The
we all have,
spirits.
because we have coins usually sitting around, so they can take a coin that's already existing in this plane and move it to another spot to get our attention.
Much like a Patrick Swayze in Ghost.
Right.
Okay.
But with the feathers, I think that they're coming from someplace else, and maybe it's because the nature of the feather, it's so light.
It's
Denny's?
easy to move.
It's easy to move. So
Denny's, you being a skeptic, we're talking about,
I mean, I'm kind of on board with what Vicky's saying here. I was going to ask, what do you think, why do those things manifest, like coins and feathers? But that totally makes sense because they're very light and they take little energy to move.
Do you believe
And I don't
this?
think they're manifesting, like you said. I think they might be coming from another spot in the house, and they're just easy to move over there.
I mean,
Never thought about it.
if you really do have some, like a house that has no feathers, then they pretty much have to be coming from someplace else.
sure.
I have no feathers. When's the last time I've ever had a feather? I found like 3 white feathers in different parts of the room, unless you're planting them, Denny's.
I'm not, but you got a lot of costumes, a lot of things that you'll stuff in your bag that could totally leak a feather over the years.
You know, I got a lot of costumes. I do.
You
This
had
is
that
good.
mask that had feathers on it from Mardi Gras.
She should get tested. She should get tested and see what kind of feather it is.
I am totally. I agree. I
For
have
sure,
them.
it would be cool if something was manifesting from thin air.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't think it's manifesting. I think it may be blowing. Maybe they
Like
bring
the
it.
beginning of Forrest Gump, like it's getting moved, willed to that spot.
But literally, there have been objects have disappeared. They've searched the entire house for them. They don't have other people living in the house that could have moved them, and literally, it will reappear someplace else.
Have you heard of other types of when someone passes, items being left behind? Are there other things like a feather that you've heard of?
I've heard of feathers and coins. Like I said, is very typical for family members to leave coins.
So you believe more in the feather stuff than the red cardinal appearing?
Well, that's because I can say that, like I said, I have a cardinal that lives in my yard. Every time that he comes around, I don't think it's a spirit. But if I have a house that doesn't have a feather in it, and all of a sudden I have a pile of white feathers, that has to be,
absolutely.
you
And
know.
I think too, just sometimes people just want something magical to happen in
Right.
their life. I mean, there's definitely part of that probably with me. You're right. It's probably from a friggin' mask, and it's got no kind of sign. There's nothing special.
Unless there's a relevance to it. Like, when you see, there's a significance when you see a red cardinal, whereas to you, there's not. You see them
Right.
all the time. So you wonder if maybe feathers manifest because that means something to that person, or coins.
I think it's good to have an open mind. It's good for us all to have an open mind. It's good for the audience to have an open mind, whatever the context of the subject is. So if no one had an open mind, we'd never advance.
Well, that's why I was kind of
sure.
so surprised. I mean, I know that people are, their emotions are wound tight, just humans are, but just bringing up chemtrails and not even having a stance on it,
Yeah.
I just was kind of blown away by the amount of hate that we got just by talking about
That's
stuff.
a tough one. That's like tinfoil hat stuff where you mention
Yeah.
chemtrail and people instantly
They
jump
do.
on it.
Well,
you gotta
It's
put
an easy target.
it's great to put things in historical context for perspective. Galileo, put in jail. He may have even been killed. I don't remember the history on him, but saying that the Earth revolved around the sun
Oh, yeah.
and not the sun revolved
Not
around the Earth,
exactly, yeah.
that was like heresy. That the world was round rather than being flat. You were like cuckoo.
Yeah.
If
Like,
you thought otherwise.
if you thought otherwise. So the point is that as crazy as some of the stuff we talk about, it's good. I mean, at one point, Christopher Columbus and Galileo, my point is, were considered nuts. That was crazy. That was out there. So it's always good to have an open mind. That's a scientific method, to have a hypothesis, to
Yep.
test it, and then come out with a conclusion.
I was talking. Do you have something to add, Vicky?
I was going to say, so that means one day you'll be in the history books.
Yeah, no,
Sure.
for sure. So, I was talking to somebody, one of those flat earthers. I was talking to somebody that would. I mean, I swear to you, they were. We laugh at them, but you know.
Yeah, why is that any crazier? I guess.
Why is his theory any crazier than anything else we talk about? And I see what you're going to say: science, history,
and
photos.
I'm not a flat earther.
I'm not a flat earther.
But at the same
either.
time, you got to beckon the question.
But
why?
But people, in perspective, when there was flat earthers, they didn't know what we know.
Yeah, because they didn't have the
Correct.
technology to see from a distance
They
what
can
the
like,
Earth would
yeah,
look like.
exactly.
Flat earthers have they may have even more of a conspiracy theory bone than
Well, that would
Denny's.
mean almost every planet would be flat, and then the darkness wouldn't. The time zones wouldn't make sense. They wouldn't really make sense.
What if you found out like everything, like space,
All
the moon,
it's the Matrix.
all of it wasn't real, and it's pretty much like the Truman Show.
Oh, what would you think if you found out that none of the space travel's ever been real and it's all just been a television program?
Yeah, like we've never gone to space. Imagine that. Something like that leaked. Let's just say that hypothetically happened. What happens to everybody?
What happens to everything you know?
Does everybody revolt, or do we just kind of go, "Oh, the Kardashians are on"?
Well, we definitely have trust issues.
Yeah,
We didn't already have them.
There's
them
a
now.
huge amount of trust issue going on now.
We have them now. No, I know that's not happened, but
Yeah.
just an interesting question. Would there be complete anarchy? I mean, would people just lose their
I think it'd be
shit?
half and half. Half the people would band together and revolt. The other half would be like, this is misinterpreted. This is fake news, whatever they want to call it.
It's easy to say everything's fake now. I mean,
Well, that's the ultimate power weapon. The only thing that's powerful on this planet is knowledge, knowing how things work, how things happen. If you could somehow make that confusing for people to understand, then you can control them. It makes it so much easier because people don't know what's real. They're looking for anything. to
Yeah,
latch on.
it's like going back to a relationship thing. Like I've had relationships where the person was so manipulative. I was like definitive as to I saw like stuff, and like they were so good at it. Like I started to doubt what I saw. So sometimes like Hitler, like different people, like the propaganda, like they're so like people start believing this crazy stuff.
For sure. And if people are, there's studies out saying people are more depressed now. People have sedimentary lives and
But how
stuff.
do
And they're going to be way more influenced by that stuff. They want that change.
how the shit do they know people are more depressed now? You mean tell me people are more depressed now than they were in the 1200s when the
I tell you the
sun-
studies. Yeah, I think depression's changed though. Things they were depressed about then we're not depressed about because we don't have those same problems.
I can level on that.
But
I think it's chemicals in the food.
chemicals in the food are huge. We got mad amount of steroids being put into food, different chemicals, growth hormones, all that stuff helps the animal grow quicker so we can get the food faster. But what's it doing side effect wise over time to people?
Do you think, Vicky, that the food that we're eating is bringing us down a little bit? Almost kind of like Denny's philosophy with the fluoride in the water?
I think our food's killing us. I think it's slowly killing us.
But how is that? Because our lifespan is longer than it ever has been. How is it killing
Well,
us?
I think it's killing us.
It's having like weird side effects. I mean, not to be, whatever, but I mean, when I was in school, you may have had one overweight kid that might have had some man boobs. I mean, now I look and I see a group of high school boys and 60% of them are growing breasts.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just,
And-
it may not quote unquote kill us, but it's certainly taking away from
And
what
a
we're
lot-
supposed to be.
The processed stuff, anything that you can't pronounce on the back of that box, that's a chemical that's being added to food to either add flavor or longevity. You notice you leave an apple on the counter, that thing will last for like a week and a half before it starts rotting. Old apples, man, used to rot in like 4 days, 3 days.
Without saying any names of any restaurants, I'll just put it all under the blanket statement of fast food stuff. Yeah, I've left out some stuff for 3 days, and it looks like it. I mean, it looks like it's brand new.
It looks
still.
brand new, and we just showed that ice cream that wasn't even melting. It turns into a foam. But think about all that stuff you're eating. Your body doesn't even know what to do with that because usually it's eating or you're in absorbing things that your body can process and expel. That stuff it doesn't know what to do with, so it passes out. So we're way malnourished compared to back in the day. If you look at the 70s, everybody's rail thin in the movies.
Well, it's because they were doing cocaine, Denny's. I mean, they loved it.
But the kids, they're all rail thin, but they're eating hearty breakfast, lunch, and dinner before they went to school. Why are we eating less now? You can eat once a day and be gaining weight.
And they used that term a lot back in the 70s. We're gonna make a hearty meal. They
would get hearty ass meals. They had
The big
potatoes,
problem is the
everything.
last 50 years. Last 50 years, I mean, we're still way better off than we were 1,000 years ago in terms of our
Absolutely.
nutrition. But that's, I mean, you would cut your finger and potentially die from gangrene back then. But nowadays, like the last 50 years, to your point, processed food, hydrogenated oils, those kind of things. Like your body, it's nutritionists are making people go back to how their grandparents cook.
Yeah, I've noticed a big movement with people going back to traditional
They're
style
going
meals.
back to like high quality fats, like coconut oils, like even grass fed butters, even a lot more It's common sense. At the end of the day, it's not complicated. I mean, everyone reacts a little differently to different kinds of carbs and stuff like that, and different macros.
I
And
love carbs so much. That is
it's like a drug.
It's gonna kill. I'm hooked. I'm hooked, and I don't think I'm ever getting off.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But bread now is different than it used to be. I mean,
Totally.
Yeah, Denny's telling me that bread's made out of human hair. It's messing me up.
human and animal hair.
And people, in people's defense, although I think they'd make some dumb choices, people are set up for failure. I mean, they go to the fast food place and they get a salad. And the salad dressing's got as much sugar as a Coca-Cola.
And all of that stuff's processed things you're putting on your salad.
Or you're trying to check out. You're trying to do it right at Publix, Vicky. I'm trying to do it right, get a salad, and then all of a sudden, boom! Whatchamacallit, king size, Butterfinger, right at the thing. I'm like, I gotta grab that. They do that on purpose.
That's advertising 101.
That's why there really is I mean, it's true. And I love Cheesecake Factory. I do. I love cheesecake. But my knock on Cheesecake Factory is it takes me an hour and a half to pick something
through
up.
their menu?
It's 37 pages long.
Like an encyclopedia.
If I go to Five Guys, they've got 6 things on the menu.
Yeah.
I'm in and out of there. And there is a sense of peace. And that's just
That's a
ordering your
psychology.
food.
They do that intentionally, make it easy so you make a decision easier.
But I think that's a thing that you should probably bring in with any situation. I think too much clutter with anything, too much noise, it screws up your decision making.
It's quality over quantity. I used to work at Houston's, which is now called Hillstone, and you compare that to a cheesecake, and like if you understand how the restaurant business works, if you have a smaller menu, you have more. You want to go to a restaurant where they run out of things. They got 86 the artichoke. Like if you go in at 9:30 to try to order artichoke at Houston's, they're out of it usually because it's fresh. The turnover on their meals is small, right? Because they have a certain amount of product. If you have a book of stuff, you have so much stuff you have to keep on hand and inventory and in the freezer.
Sure.
You cannot keep it fresh and run a business. That's my knock on cheesecake.
The one
We're not going to get them as a sponsor.
you would because I love them. I'd make it all right. I'd make it all good. I'd smooth that one over. The last thing I wanted to talk about, we got an email from Ashley who works in the ICU unit, and she was talking about just certain places where people, are dying. You can almost sense it. What do you think, Vicky, other than the hospital, what are some other places where you almost can sense death about to happen?
About to happen?
Or just
Other than
maybe
a hospital?
Other than a hospital, maybe it's not about to happen, but you're gonna have some activity, and there's gonna probably be some type of. I believe her email, and I might be getting hers mixed up with somebody else's, but almost saying an energy. You can feel an energy in the room, in the building when someone's about to die.
Right. I mean, I can't think of anything other than the hospital. I mean, I would imagine that a funeral home, before the funeral, before and during the funeral would have a lot of activity and a lot of people hanging around.
Is it disrespectful to do like an investigation at a funeral home to get EVPs? Is that, oh no, you can't do that?
It's not high on my list.
Because
of places to go.
I'm not talking about a funeral when it's going on. I mean,
right.
he's going
I know,
into
like
after hours.
Into after hours. My mom had a friend who lived in a home that used to be a funeral home. Yeah.
That would be.
And that's one of the few times my mom will admit to having seen a ghost.
Where is that local?
No, it's in West Virginia.
Road trip?
Back to my homeland,
Is that where you're from?
Huntington.
Oh, nice. I think we got to wrap it up, y'all, because we've been over an hour, and I got to get kicked out of the studio.
A quick story that you guys will appreciate in terms of feedback. So I was talking to one of my friends, and she was giving me feedback on the podcast, telling me how much she loves it and everything like that. She's like, the one thing I can't get on board with is the lizard people thing.
I think we're all on that.
That's another one like tinfoil hats.
Yeah.
We'll
So
get on,
remember I was talking about coincidences and how things are funny, and I still stand where I stand about how that's the craziest thing we've talked about on the podcast.
Yeah, it's up there.
But my hand to God, she starts freaking out because she was driving in her car. A lizard had crawled on her neck, and she freaked out in the midst of us talking about
See,
it.
that's what happens when you talk
Is that
shit about
crazy?
lizard people. They'll
That's
get
crazy.
You. That's
awesome.
That's very, very funny. You guys have anything going on you want to plug? Nothing.
I am going to. I know that we have our little filming thing too, but I've had a lot of people approach me about coming on a paranormal investigation with the team. So I think I am going to set up with small numbers. Some people who
I would
want to go.
recommend that. Yeah.
Yeah, very small numbers,
Yeah,
like
I would
a
keep it-
lottery type situation.
I keep it small, and I would keep it almost kind of like
Yeah.
not exclusive, but you almost
Yeah.
have to earn your spot to get on
Yeah,
that.
and well, I'd have to talk to them and interview
Sure.
them first to see if they're.
I'm,
allowed to
I'm
come,
only
but-
suggesting that because I've been through
Yep.
some stuff before.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, some people have been having problems. I don't know why, but the contact at Point Paranormal is sometimes kicking their emails back and giving them a failure notice. They are coming through, so they try multiple times, so I end up with 4. But if you want, instead of using that email, if you want to contact me at Nancy, NANCY 38Drew DREW at AOL.com, those won't get kicked back.
You know what's happening. You know why they're getting kicked back. Demons.
Oh,
Walking
get that out of
You're
here.
like Shaquille O'Nealing it.
Denny's, what do you got? At
Producer Denny's.
At Producer Denny's. I'm at Jason Bigfoot on Twitter. We do have our Facebook page. Thank you to everybody who's listening to the Weird and Whatever podcast. We keep sending all of your topics in. We love them.
And I would say maybe also because we have that new Instagram handle.
Plug that, Biatch.
Yeah, so Weird and Whatever on Instagram. So that's cool. We're start interacting with that. If you ever have trouble finding the link for the video podcast, we always could put that afterwards in the profile of the Instagram. And if you don't mind, if it's a good idea, maybe we say, because we've been talking about a public situation.
Yes.
So whether they tweet it to us or maybe throw out some suggestions, whether they're an owner of a place they think would be cool or have
Yeah.
suggestions. Because
Yes.
we've been kind of been brainstorming ourselves.
For sure.
For sure.
And that would be a cool idea.
Just to let people know, we have been trying to get certain, places to go. We've hit a bit of a dead end, pun intended. But yeah, if you are a business owner, I would like to stick to the business owner instead
Okay.
of a house. We've got enough houses we can do.
Got it.
We got to go through ours, and there's a couple other ones we can go to. But if you are a business owner, you think you've got paranormal activity, and you're cool with us exploring, filming, interviewing, drinking, smoke, whatever we're doing. I don't know. Denny smokes. But yeah, let us know at any of those places. And a good place to probably send would be Vicky. You're very good on all that stuff. So,
Yeah. Cool.
Well, we love you all. Thank you guys for listening. And Bigfoot is real.
What was that? What? What's that sound? It's aliens and they're living in your town.